Thank you for joining me today on Inspire, Dr. Atuire.
Thanks for having me.
Wonderful. All right, I want to take it back. So you were born in Sandema, that's in the Upper East region of Ghana,
Right.
Savannah territory. I've been up north, not. I think I've been Upper West, not Upper East yet. It's, when you're there, you just literally see vast, Savannah land. Just for you, what was life like when you were growing up as a young person?
Well, I'm a Savannah animal, I'm sorry to say that way. I need space, vast horizons. And what I think is, what we received from that land is that nature is just so vast and the horizons are so clean, no obstacles, because in the savannah, when you raise your eyes, you see as far as your eyes can go. That, to some extent in my life, has basically taught me that really nothing is impossible. It's only the infinite, and to look for infinity. And that's why I call myself a savannah animal. I need infinite horizons to live, and that's what the savannah is giving to me. Okay,
now you're very much an academic. You're a lecturer now. You've studied, and now you're pouring out. You're pouring. I say, isn't education is not what is put in you, but what comes out of you. What was it about? I know your first degree was in engineering, but to be an academic and is really a lifelong academic. What's the draw about just feeding your mind and learning? What is it about that you like so much?
Well, I must say, starting from childhood, we had very good teachers who stimulated in us. I can remember even before the age of 12, reading Things Fall Apart, Cyprian Ekwensu, Burning Grass.
Wait, before the age of?
The age of 12.
Wow,
right.
that's very young. Yeah.
And even one of the challenges which my family threw at me as a kid was to read the whole Bible. And I read the whole Bible from A to Z before I was 15.
Wow.
I remember my Bible, the pages were basically falling off around the house, and my mother was complaining because I was leaving trails of biblical pages all around the house. But we were stimulated to study a lot. And this is one thing I must say about the Ghanaian educational system at the time. It was quality education. To give you an idea, I left Ghana. When I went to England, I was promoted 1 year. And I don't think it was just because one is supposed to be intelligent, but it's because the educational system was good. And mind you, we were in public schools. These were government schools, not private schools. Schools without windows. Schools that were sometimes even under trees, but the quality was good.
The education was good.
The education was good. And I think this is something that we need to keep in mind today anyway.
All right. Yeah. Well, I know your degree is in engineering. Why did you choose engineering, as when you went to England to study? Because I know you didn't end up necessarily using it because you branched out. But why engineering in the first place?
Hey, to some extent, I suppose I was privileged to do my A-levels in England. I applied to various universities, Manchester, Oxford, and Imperial College. I got admission to all of them. Oxford was for PPE. Is it political science, whatever, and philosophy, medicine in Manchester, and engineering at Imperial College. And the whole idea of learning how to build dams, roads, bridges, and coming back to work in Africa kind of appealed to me. And that was why I went into engineering.
Initially.
But then when I was in engineering, I suppose I branched off actually within engineering.
You got a call to be in a Roman father.
Right, yeah.
Right. How does that happen?
Well, it's, one of the things that I noticed when I left Ghana and went to England is this. In Ghana, we're used to poverty. We see people who basically struggle, or at least in the 1980s anyway, were struggling just to have 3 square meals a day. Now you go to England, and some of the areas which I started visiting were South London, Brixton at the time, and you realize that the problem of human beings is not just having money or not having money. To give you an example, when I was studying engineering, we studied a certain building which had been designed as a model way of living, following the philosophy of Le Corbusier, one of the great architects of the 20th century. Beautiful building. The architect actually won awards for that building. It's down in Brixton at the end of Cold Harbor Lane. Now, you go into that building, they're pushing drugs. People will put a knife to your neck if you look. Yeah, Brixton was violent in the 80s.
Even
was violent.
Early 90s,
right.
Yes.
And that got me thinking, hey, if you do not solve the human problem, mankind's problem, you can actually pick up any person and give them all the money or put them in any wealthy situation, they will still turn it into hell. And that was what, to some extent, moved me towards like looking for more spiritual solutions, because at the end of the day, unless a man is able, humans are able to transform themselves from within, you can change the environment, but that environment will simply degenerate within time.
Wow.
So that
was what led you
yeah.
to seek, being a Roman father. And I know you were a father for about 10 years or more.
Right, yeah, about 12 years, yeah.
12 years,
yeah,
and
right,
now you're, you hanged up the robes, so to say.
Right.
But I know you're, when it comes to philosophical matters,
right.
I've been told you're the man. We're going to jump into some questions on that, but before we do that, I also know you're very much a humanitarian.
Okay.
Tell me a bit about your NGO, Amigos Onlus.
Right, yeah. A group of friends and I, back in 2003, decided to create this NGO called Amicus Onlus, which in Latin simply means friends. And the Onlus in Italian basically stands for a non-governmental organization without any profit ends. So what we do is we're into health and empowerment. For example, right now, if you go down to Osu, where you have all these high-rise buildings that are going up, and
yes.
Osu is now beginning to look like some kind of metropolis.
Very much so.
Right behind, 100 meters behind, there's abject poverty. We're giving lessons to young people on computer skills. We're teaching them hardware so that they can get some skills and get some jobs. The girls, we're teaching them to make beads. So trying to, empower people. We're giving courses to young mothers. For example, teenage pregnancy is a high problem along the coastal belt. So in one of the villages in the central region, we're now teaching the young ladies sewing so that they will have a skill, and trying to encourage them to put aside some money, and we will add to it so that by the time they finish the program, they can actually acquire the sewing machine, because that's the important thing. You can actually learn the skill, but if you don't have the machine, you can't work.
Is it like, don't give the man or the
right.
woman a fish,
right.
give them a net so they can fish.
So that they can learn how to, if they learn how to fish, then they can make a living, because the problem, especially of exploitation of women, to some extent is linked to economic emancipation. And we need to make sure that women are able to cater for themselves so that they do not, as it were, I'm sorry to put it this way, have to sell themselves in order to live, or basically bend to the needs of the highest bidder. So this is empowerment and, to some extent, training to make people free so that they can express themselves. And then we have the whole health sector. We have a clinic in Biriwa. 2 weeks ago, I was in Jema, which is a town near the border town of Elubo.
Okay.
Right.
Oh, that's right out.
Right.
Okay. Right out.
In Zimaland.
In Zima, almost to Ivory Coast. Right?
Almost Cote d'Ivoire. Actually, you
yes.
can pick up the Cote d'Ivoire cell phone network when you're there. And I went to that village because back in November I was informed about a young mother who actually died in childbirth and lost a baby. This is a town, a cocoa producing area, where there are about 5,000 people, but up to now there is no single medical health facility in this town. And if a woman is delivering a baby and she runs into complications, you have to pick a taxi, the local taxis. The road is a rough road. And I went there in the rainy season. Without a four-wheel drive, you can't get there. And so anyway, we've been able to work with the community. The community has already put up a structure, and hopefully in December we'll open a clinic there. But then I keep asking these questions, and How is it possible that these people who have been producing cocoa for Ghana, and Ghana has lived on cocoa for over 60 years, are still left in these abject conditions? And is it right? And so, yes, I do NGO work, but my goal in NGO work is to render ourselves basically unnecessary. Our best achievement is to be useless.
There shouldn't be.
There shouldn't be. We shouldn't be doing this.
That's the ideal
right,
dream.
That's the
when
ideal.
There's no more NGOs
right, and
needed.
I remember, Mother Teresa in an interview basically said that they asked her once, what will happen when poverty ends in the world? And she said, we'll be happily unemployed. And I think, that is what that is what we should be trying to do. So we do things, but we're also asking the questions, why are these things taking place and why do we have to do them?
All right, so very fascinating. I'm speaking with Dr. Caesar Atuire. We're going to go for a quick break. This is Inspire. Join us back very soon where we'll be jumping into philosophy. You don't want to miss it. Welcome back to Inspire. I'm speaking with Dr. Caesar Atuire. Doc, philosophy, so many questions for centuries, forever. I don't even think, we'll ever stop asking the question. The first question I want to ask, I think, many men, over the centuries have asked that question, does God exist? We hear it many times. You lecture in it. You're very well versed in it. That question, what's the best answer to that? Is there a God?
I think, okay. The question needs to be broken down into two. One thing is the existence of God, and another thing is the belief in God. I usually give an example which is extremely silly, but I think it renders the idea. One can say that, the Brazilian football team, national football team, is the best team in the world because it has won the World Cup so many times. That's a fact. That's a data. Yeah. You can argue about that, but you can prove that with data. But that does not necessarily make me a supporter of the Brazilian national team. Okay. The religious person is the supporter. So, first of all, we need to, as it were, put it down. And I think among all the plausible hypotheses that you can give, yes, there is a plausible hypothesis that at the beginning of this world, not the beginning in time, but the beginning in logic, the metaphysical beginning, there must be the figure of a God. Because most of the questions we pose, you just keep going back and back, what we call the theory of infinite regress. At some point, you need to stop. Right? And where you stop is what people call God. That's what Thomas Aquinas said anyway. Now, the other thing that comes up is, okay, what relationship should I have with that God? The existence of God does not necessarily conclude in me kneeling down or going to pray. And that is where we then begin to say, okay, if there is a God, what are the characteristics of this God and what is his relationship with us human beings? And this is where the various religions have different experiences. And above all, Christianity, we have the basis that, yes, this God actually revealed himself to the people of Israel and through his son. And he revealed himself in the name that perhaps we can best synthesize as love. And for that matter, we're called to love him and to enter into a loving relationship with him. But that then becomes a matter of faith. So faith is the key when it comes to the question of, is there a God? Does God exist? So is it pretty much about faith is what you believe in? No, I think there is a rational base. Okay. There is a rational base to be able to argue and actually debate on the existence of God without any faith. Okay. And just as it is plausible, because at the end of the day, I'll tell you something. Even the scientific theories we have, right from Big Bang, the theory of evolution and all that, they all have loopholes in them that require a certain jump to be able to accept them. And the existence of a supreme being as the foundation, the metaphysical foundation of the world, is also another hypothesis that you can put forward. And it is rational. As well. So, yes, the existence of God can actually be defended rationally.
Okay.
Now, the fact of actually adoring, following, worshiping this God becomes a question of faith.
Aha.
You choose to then, but after all, God could have just been the creator who made this world and said, okay, go. And he's busy enjoying himself and he's forgotten about us. But religion says, no, that's not the case. It says that God continues to relate with us and wants to build a relationship with us. And then that is where faith actually comes in, because we only know that through revelation. And the answer to revelation is faith.
Aha. Okay.
Right.
When we speak of other religions,
Right.
you know, or at least the main major religions, Judaism, Islam, Buddhism, maybe, you know, Hinduism,
Right.
the biggest religions in the world that we know today, of course, Christianity.
Yeah.
I hear, you know, a lot of times when, you know, friends get into the debates, most friends do, oh, well, you know, we all worship one God anyway, you know, whatever faith we stand, whether we're here or there. Is that plausible, that we all worship one God? Is there, because some people seem to think, well, this is your God, this is my God, this is, you know, so what's the best answer to to that question?
Now, I think there too we need to, sorry, I need to keep making distinctions.
No, don't worry.
Rationally speaking, there can only be one God. If it is this person, creature, or whatever that is at the beginning, I can't even say creature because creature means created, but that being that is at the basis of everything, there can only be one God. Right. So it is true that yes, all the religions appeal to the existence of a God. Buddhism, not so much, but at least
by enlightenment.
The revealed religions, the Abrahamic religions, let's call them, appeal to the existence of a God. And that's God, yes, there is one God. However, each and every religion sees this God in a different way. Okay. And because they see this God in a different way, they actually worship him differently. And for that matter, even the person and the name of the God that they follow is different. So when people say, oh, we all worship the same God, I would say, no, be careful. There is one God. Yes, rationally we can all accept that there has to be one God, but we all see him in different ways. What is common though, and this is where I think we should be looking more in that direction, is that at the end of the day, the religions actually propose values that are common to all of us. At the end of the day, it seems almost all religions defend the idea of family. All religions tend to promote the idea of a certain brotherhood. All religions also talk about peace, even though the means to achieve it can vary from religion to religion. So yes, there are certain common values. And I think when religions get together, what we should be looking more at is what are the values that are human that we all share, and how we can promote these values. Because when we start getting into theology and arguing theology, then we start going apart. So we can look at it more from the axiological, the value end.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, as Christians, most believe in the Trinity.
Yes.
But is the Trinity, is it really a coherent, is it coherent? Like just thinking about it,
Right.
is it possible? Like really the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit? Even me as a Christian, there's times I'm like, you know, getting my head around it.
Well, yeah, the Trinity is a very coherent doctrine.
Okay.
It's a very, very coherent doctrine. Okay, it's often misunderstood. Okay. Now, John tells us that in the beginning was the Word. And
Word.
Right, was. And okay, it's very difficult to translate in English. In English, we say, and the Word was with God. It's enarche en hologos, hologos prostonteon, right? Like the Word was in front of God, right?
Ah.
Okay, it was like that in front of God. And that Word became flesh. But that Word, if you look at it, logos, the word they use, logos, in Greek is actually the term, okay, it means word. But the Greeks were looking at logos because logos is the key and the secret to understanding the meaning of the world, because you understand meaning through the word. So this word is part of God, right? And it becomes, as it were, human. It's even beautiful. You know, we say the word was made flesh and dwelt among us. In the Greek, it doesn't say that. It says the word was made flesh or became flesh and put his tent in our midst. Because, you see, we are a migrant people. We come into time at a certain point and we exit time. So life is a journey. And when the word comes, he puts his tent among us, because only people who actually are journeying dwell in tents. So he comes to be our companion on the journey of life. Now, how does the Trinity fit into this? The love between the Father and the Son is so strong that that love has a name, and that name is the Spirit.
The Holy Spirit.
And just to give a human example, you know, when you love somebody, the relationship that exists between two people who are in love, that relationship is actually a being. That is why when, you know, the relationship is broken, it's like the death of a relationship. Like when two people are together and they break up, there is something called the relationship between the two that is broken, and that is what people actually suffer. That is what we mourn for. And people cry, and sometimes it takes them a long time to be able to overcome it. And so it is the Father, the Son, and the love between them is so strong that is like our human love that can lead us to cry or to be happy, multiplied to the nth degree, is the Spirit. And all these have the same dignity as God. So if all of them have the same dignity as God, what do we say? So our God in three persons, and I mean the Cappadocian fathers who actually came up with this whole idea of the Trinity, they took it from the New Testament, but you know, I don't know how much time we have.
I wish we had all the time. I'm so fascinated.
Right. You know, the word person that we use today, and where everybody is about human rights, the person has his dignity and everything, was actually borrowed from the Trinitarian debates. Because the word person comes from Greek prosopon, which is mask that they use in the theater. Okay, I mean, you are into acting and all that, so you know the mask that you wear in the theater. What does the mask do? It makes you represent a person. So when they were talking about it, they were saying that it is one God, but the way we perceive it is in different masks. The mask of the Father, the mask of the Son, and the mask of the Spirit. So one God in three prosopon, in three persons. But each of these persons also has his own, as it were, identity. And that is how the word person, persona, passed into Latin and then passed into our language, our modern languages. Yeah.
Okay, we're out of time, and I have I feel like I just started my question just really quickly. As people of faith, a lot of times, you know, we struggle. It's, you know, even with belief, even with just trying to hold on. Just your last bit of advice to a Christian or a person of faith, just doubting as something, you know, I've been there. I think most of us have go through. What advice do you give them in times like that?
Well, you know, at the end of the day, I'm always of the idea that the experience of conversion, the experience of faith, is a journey. And like every journey, you go through highs and lows. And actually doubting is a healthy thing if it allows you to be able to go deep. So do not be afraid of yourself and even your own sins and your own failings. You know, there's a saying that the God who made you without you cannot save you without you. And he's going to save you through your weaknesses. So open up to him, even when you doubt, even when you sin, even when you err. It's this beautiful hymn which talks about the sin of Adam and Eve. And it says, Felix culpa, happy the sin which brought us such a great redemption.
Wow.
Right.
Wow. Okay. I think I have to sit down with you another time, because I told you my questions, I didn't even scratch the surface, but time wouldn't allow us. I want to say a big thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure.
My guest, Dr. Caesar Atuire, very insightful. Of course, hopefully next time I'll get a chance to get more in depth. This has been another edition of Inspire. My name is Amike Ababrese, and I've been speaking with Dr. Caesar Atuire. I'll catch you soon.
Hey family, Akese Brimpong here. Listen, media is a great pillar of society. Media practitioners say that media is the fourth estate of the realm. What the media projects, society would reflect. And so you look at the prevailing culture and what's on our media and you worry about the next generation. And that's why Dominion TV is on this mission to reclaim the culture and to produce content that will help win the next generation for Christ. So we come to you to help us financially to create content that will help win the next generation for God. The numbers to reach us are on the screen. The website is on the screen. We are asking that you help Dominion TV with your pens to help us produce content that will turn the hearts of the next generation to their Father. God bless you as you do this.